Hello there, welcome to Five Figures. Today I'm set up in a different place because we're looking at some really big boys here. As a size comparison to how big of a boys we're talking about, you can see I got a little tiny 6-inch Captain America down here, and that is a standard action figure size. And yet, these are in fact just single release action figures. These aren't Build-A-Figures. These aren't, I mean, some of these are obviously deluxe, but they are supposed to be scaled to this size or roughly. We're going to start with Darkside here. He was kind of like he's a DC Classics Deluxe or something like that, or DC Direct Deluxe. I can't remember the exact line. Very beefy boy, very massively huge. He came packed with, I said single release, but I guess he did come with his daughter, whose name I have trouble remembering right now, but she was just a 6-inch scale figure. So this big beefy bastard, see that, has pretty decent articulation, bends right at the middle. He's got a lot of pretty decent head rotation. I want to say it looked, nope, I was wrong. It doesn't look up or down. He's got ball joints at his shoulders, and these shoulder pad things hinge out of the way. But he's got ball joints at his shoulder, double jointed elbows, just a wrist joint with a swivel, ball joints at the hips, but they're like massive ball joints at the hips, double jointed knees, and then he's just got like a rocker pivot at the ankle. So you get too much articulation to a figure this size, and you start obviously having troubles with them standing, keeping them upright, that kind of thing. But the sculpt on this guy is pretty awesome. I think they were retailing this guy for right around $60 or $70 with his daughter figure included. And she's a great figure too, but you know, this was well, it is what it was. It was just a single release. It was a 2-pack basically. I'm gonna put him out of the way because I need to have room for our next guy. This is one of the first of these I picked up, is Solomon Grundy here. This is from the Batman video game. Grundy, holy shit, this thing is amazing. My wife actually saw this at a thrift store type secondhand strange collector shop, and she's like, you have to get that. And we didn't. We kind of screwed around and didn't get it. But after seeing it, it became something that I started to hunt. So I did actually pick this thing up shortly after that. But the fact that my wife saw this figure and was like, that's what you need, we need to get you one of those. He is not quite as posable. He's like a DC Deluxe, I think is what they called him. His head doesn't move around much. He's got big old ball joints at the shoulders, which give you pretty good movement. He, unlike Darkside, has upper bicep cut, but he only has a single jointed elbow, which doesn't move much, kind of at all. And then he has a wrist like a ball joint, so it kind of can move around, but not a lot. The sculpt limits your movability. These chains are just like floating rubber. He has ball joints at the hips, but they don't do hardly anything. And he has knee joints that aren't even worth trying to bend because they don't move enough to do anything. And then he has no articulation at the ankles. He is probably one of the heavier of all of these. He is solid. Darkside had some like softer rubber and some stuff like that, but this guy is solid chunk of plastic. His jacket is rubber, and the real like gross out point on this thing, oops, is you can pop open his chest plate, his rib cage, and get his heart out, which is how you beat him in the video game. And then the rivets just tuck back under the jacket, and the jacket holds the chest on. But odd design. For something that I don't remember this ever being a thing with him before. I'm trying to put this chest back on. I don't take it off very often because I do prefer the look of having a completed chest. But yeah, weird. Next up, going to take a look at, this was from the same line as Solomon Grundy. This is Clayface. They call it Joker Clayface sometimes. If you pull the mask off, it has a Joker face. I believe I may have puttied that in place because I was tired of it falling off. He comes with like different arm attachments and stuff like that, but all of it really just distracts from the coolness of the basic figure. Once again, your articulation is extremely limited, and I mean, you get some, enough to call it an action figure, but I mean, they're not terribly posable. But you're dealing with so much mass and weight. He is also, actually, I think he weighs more than Solomon Grundy because he is a solid boy. Big chunk of turd here. But you have basically the same articulation, except you get a little bit of ankle pivot, and he has a rotation at his knees. Other than that, he's about the same as Solomon Grundy. But a beautiful looking figure, just in general. Big, massive thing. And he does have a jaw hinge, which is pretty damn cool. And then next beefy boy we're going to look at. Now this is not for 6-inch scale. This is actually Marvel Universe Sentinel. So he's made for figures that are about 3 3/4. But unless you're like a scale Nazi, who gives a shit? It's a great looking toy. It's a great looking display piece. And now we're going to talk about some real articulation. You've got a massive ball joint at the shoulder that gets you all sorts of movement. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Hinge at the wrist right there, plus another one at the hand that bends. You got a button there that makes him say stuff. He just has a pivot here. He doesn't have anything going on under here, but that's because he's got electronics inside of him. You get a much better range of motion from the head. Big ball jointed hips with an upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, and ankle rocker pivots, plus another rotation at the mid calf. So, and this guy actually, you can get him into some pretty crazy poses. You do have to do the old Toy Biz trick where you have to swivel the ball joint around to get it to move in the way that you want. But other than that, pretty cool. And he is also a hard plastic figure. He does have some hollow elements, but not a lot. And then this whole like upper piece here is just all like soft rubber, which I think gives it a cool looking like muted tone. But freaking sweet. I lucked out and bought these before they got super expensive. And it's just one of those things. I was lucky to get it. And last up, we have Galactus. He has all the same articulation that the Sentinel does, but a lot cooler sculpt and a lot bigger head. He's got double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, ankle rocker pivot. He's got the rotation at the upper thigh and the calf. His rubber skirt piece does block a lot of your movement from his legs, but then again, you know, Galactus never roundhouse kicked anyone, so. He's also got electronics inside of him, and the back of his head lights up when he does so. So that is Galactus. Once again, this was a figure scaled for a 3-inch as opposed to a 6-inch. And he was one that I was lucky enough to pick up before they got insanely expensive. And that's always good. But yeah, that is my 5 figures for the day. That is my 5 chunky boys. And there you go. Anyway, that's my story, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.